Hello and welcome to Texas Talkin, the only show in America where political correctness is optional, cowboy hats are mandatory, and we don't need permission from Karl Rove to tell the truth. I'm your host, Shiloh Platts, living my best life, triggering leftists with a hot mic and trolling their enablers for sport. Now, tonight's guest is a rare species, ladies and gentlemen, a political unicorn, if you will, a conservative who actually means it. His name is Mayes Middleton, Texas state senator, businessman, destroyer of establishment narratives, and one of the guys in Austin who reads the Republican Party platform and thinks it's not just a coffee table decoration. Mayes doesn't apologize for being conservative. No, sir. Not kind of, not when the cameras are off, but all the time. Middleton is the guy who's been pushing for an end to taxpayer-funded lobbying, increased border security, stronger parental rights, and smaller government. Radical ideas, huh? In D.C., that would get you labeled extremist. Here in Texas, it gets you labeled senator. The left-wing Texas Tribune may need smelling salts. Speaking of the Austin elite, they can't stand Mayes Middleton. They act like he's personally responsible for every bad Yelp review their favorite brunch spot ever got. They call him far right, which in Texas political terms just means he votes like a Republican. You'd think that wouldn't be controversial, but in the Texas legislature, it's practically an act of civil disobedience. You see, folks, Senator Middleton is the type who gets labeled divisive by the same people who think a drag show for toddlers is inclusive. And every time the Austin Press Corps writes one of their little hit pieces on him, I swear an angel in heaven earns its cowboy hat. And now Mayes Middleton is running for Texas Attorney General in what has essentially become a three-man race. Of course, being an effective attorney general requires a vastly different skill set than being a great legislator. And we're going to talk to Senator Middleton about that tonight. What are his plans? What are the big issues lying ahead? With General Paxton leaving the AG's office, how can Mayes assure us we would get the same grit, unapologetic determination, and willingness to fight as we've seen from Paxton over the years? All coming up next. I'm Shiloh Platts. This is Texas Talkin'. And ladies and gentlemen, you already know what time it is. Let's get dialed in. And joining us now is Texas State Senator and candidate for Attorney General, Senator Mayes Middleton. Senator Middleton, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Shiloh, thank you for having me on today. Appreciate it.
Well, it is my honor to have you on, sir. And I want to ask you, you have been a remarkable senator, state senator, and exceptionally effective, boldly conservative in the Texas legislature. What would you say are your most significant legislative accomplishments, sir? And how have they prepared you for Attorney General?
Look, from day one, I've always been ranked as one of the most conservative members of the legislature. I knocked on 6,000 doors and beat an incumbent who was not living up to his conservative promises in 2018 in the primary, was chairman of the Texas House Freedom Caucus. And then in the Senate, when I first ran, President Trump said my conservative record was second to none, always been ranked as one of the top two most conservative members. And look, this is a show me, don't tell me business. And I can show you the results. And look, it's not that hard to do. You just do what you said you were going to do when you ran for office, right? Very simple formula here. I wish more people lived by that. And look, like our president, I give away the salary. I reject the pension. I reject
I didn't know that.
I always have from day one. I've never taken anything from this job. I don't even take the state license plate, which, yes, that can get you out of traffic tickets. That's true. It can. I don't take the lobbyist NFL tickets. I don't take the lobbyist ski trips. I don't take anything from this job. I am only here to serve and fight for the conservative values that we believe in. And I'll tell you this as well. I'm an oil and gas attorney, went to UT Law School, graduated in 2008. And actually, that is a similar path to our current Attorney General. He was the most conservative member in the House, most conservative member in the Texas Senate. He had that proven record, and that is why we supported him in 2014 for state attorney general because you were in the arena in the Texas Capitol. I'll tell you, I'm the only one in this attorney general's race that has been protested personally at the Texas Capitol about a month and a half ago. The woke transgender mafia had all these ugly green signs with my face on it and the X's through my eyes. They were chanting and screaming in the Texas Capitol rotunda. They called me the bathroom bigot.
The bathroom bigot. Well, they're a ruckus crowd.
And the reason why is because something simple. I don't want men in my little girl's restroom or locker room or shower. This is common sense.
Nor do I. I would probably be arrested for assault if that happened.
It's mental illness at the end of the day because look, here's what we're up against. It was a bunch of men in women's dresses. These are men pretending to be women that are fighting to get into women's restrooms, little girl showers, and locker rooms. And look, the reason why they're protesting me is I'm already defeating them. I'm already beating them and defeating the woke mind virus that they represent. And look, this is wrong. And we will not bend to their delusions in Texas. That's why this fight is so important.
It doesn't surprise me that you're not taking anything from lobbyists because I know that you're not really exactly a friend of lobbyists either. Of course, you're the guy who has championed a ban to taxpayer funded lobbying. Share with our viewers your efforts to do that.
Right. So this is the first fight that I always take on every single session. And it is the toughest fight in Austin. And the reason why it's the toughest fight is I'm taking on the deep state, right? This is your tax dollars that are being levied by force, by the way, because what happens when you don't pay your property taxes? Someone takes your house,
yeah.
someone takes your business, right? This is by force. So what are they doing with those tax dollars? Well, they're lobbying against things like election integrity, against border security, against my bill, the Texas Women's Privacy Act, which is the strongest women's privacy act in America. They're lobbying against property tax relief and reform. Not only that, they support DEI and critical race theory. This is the toughest fight because it is how the left wins in Austin without being able to win elections. They know it. They've got the racket down. And what the ban on taxpayer-funded lobbying does is it does three things. It drains the swamp, it defunds the deep state, and it ends what is the USAID of Texas.
Outstanding. So, why are you running for Attorney General? You've been such a success in the legislature. Where does it make sense in your trajectory, career trajectory, to run for Texas Attorney General?
Because this is a calling. This is not a job. And at the end of the day, this is the tip of the spear to protect and defend our state and make sure that the AG's office sets the conservative agenda for our entire state, all 31 million people. And not only that, the other states follow us, right? Texas leads, the rest follow. And at the end of the day, this is what matters the most. We don't have another Texas to move to. This is it. And I have that proven conservative record. Look, I fought the woke left's radical gender ideology and won and passed the Save Women's Sports Act. I fought the atheists and won and authored and passed the bill to put prayer back into our public schools. I fought the left-wing teachers unions and won and authored and passed the bill that makes it easier to prosecute those predators that are showing pornography to our children. I fought the woke soda lobby and won, and authored and passed the bill to take soda and candy out of our taxpayer-funded food stamp program. I fought the vaccine lobby and won, and authored and passed the strongest ban on COVID vaccine mandates in America. And I fought, actually, at the end of the day, I fought the Green New Scam. And I want to say it like that.
Exactly what it is.
Not a deal, and won and passed the bill that stops those wind farms up and down the Texas Gulf Coast right there in your neck of the woods in Jefferson County. There was one proposed in Sabine Lake right there, I believe. And this bill that I passed this past session will help stop the green new scam in Texas. Look, this is about America's energy dominance. It's about Texas's energy dominance. I'm actually the only oil and gas operator that's ever run for Attorney General. And I think that is important because, look, without our oil and gas industry, we don't have an economy anymore. This is it. And we know the radical left is always attacking the oil and gas industry. And I think the reason why is they know nobody in oil and gas votes Democrat. Nobody votes left wing. It's all conservatives in the oil and gas industry. So, of course, what do they want to do? They want to target it and go after them.
What would you say are some of the other biggest issues lying ahead that you might need to tackle should you win the election to be our next attorney general?
Well, look, top on that list, number one, border security, because border security is national security, period. And look, I've got zero tolerance for those that are in the way of President Trump's border security agenda. And I want to devote every resource and tool available to backing him up and making sure that he has every tool, which includes enforcing the ban on sanctuary cities. And what that is when we have woke George Soros elected Democrats that are not enforcing our border security laws, that are getting in the way. And what will I do with them? I will sue for civil penalties, for criminal penalties, and for removal from office, right? Those are the tools available to the Attorney General that I will use the full weight and force to make sure they are removed from office if they're in the way of our border security agenda. Not only that, election integrity. Look, we know how important election integrity is because one illegal vote cancels out your legal vote. So this session, I asked Governor Abbott add to the special session called the ability for the Attorney General to prosecute election-related crimes. He did. I'm very grateful for that. We passed it in the House, passed it in the Senate. The governor signed it into law. So now we need to take step two, which is a stand-up, standalone division in the AG's office with broad law enforcement powers to be able to prosecute and hold accountable those that are breaking our election laws. Because we know this as well. Is a George Soros DA going to prosecute voter fraud? Of
Don't
course
count on it.
not. Of course not. We all know this. That's why that backup power to prosecute in the AG's office is so important for accountability and also making sure that our laws are enforced because our laws and Constitution, these are not suggestions, right? You put your hand on the Bible to enforce all of our laws and all of the Constitution. And not only that, I want to create a division devoted to going after cartels and organized crime because
Good.
we don't know what's come in this country in the last 4 years. We don't,
Not
under
a
what
clue.
Biden did. We have no idea, but it is up to us to fix it. And that's why I think that division would be so important to root out the fentanyl, the cartels, the organized crime, which includes Islamification as well. Like
All
the
right, Senator. Those were the easy questions. Now, time for a couple of tougher ones. I didn't know you're a lawyer until very recently. How do you respond to concerns that the folks may have about your lack of time in a courtroom?
Well, so look, I've been a practicing attorney since 2008, so that's quite a long time. A civil attorney in oil and gas, just like our current Attorney General, Ken Paxton. He was a civil attorney before he ran for office for Attorney General and has done a great job fighting for our conservative values. Because look, at the end of the day, the AG's office sets the conservative agenda for the entire state. You hire the very best talent. It is a 4,000 person agency. It is 750 attorneys. And I think on that end, it is important to have someone that has signed the front of a paycheck, that has that executive level experience, which I do. I've started companies, I've run companies, and none of my other opponents have that executive level experience because we have to deliver actual victories for this state. That is the role of the Attorney General's office, moving the ball down the field and making sure Texas wins.
As I said a few minutes ago, I think you have been a remarkable state senator. I think you'd be a good governor. The concern that I hear most often from the folks, and one that I might share, is that you may lack the grit, the fight, the aggressive style that our Attorney General currently has, Ken Paxton, and that I believe is absolutely crucial in filling that role. What say you, Senator?
I would say that that is absolutely wrong. Look, I started out in this beating an incumbent. I put my money where my mouth is, my wife and I do. And look, I've suffered attacks. I've gotten death threats over this. Again, I'm the only one that's been protested personally at the Texas Capitol. None of my other opponents have gotten that because they're not delivering those victories for this state. And look, I've risked a lot in that. I'm the only one that challenges incumbents that are not living up to their conservative promises. Look, whether that's Brent Money, who's in the Texas House, or whether that's Briscoe Kane, or whether
Two
that's
favorites of mine, by the way.
or Janice Holt is
Another
another
favorite.
nearby to you, another one nearby to you. And look, I know at the end of the day, we have to elect more conservatives to office. And I've earned a lot of opposition in Austin. The deep state hates me because
I
of
know
that.
that.
And I'm willing to challenge them and fight back and go win. None of the other opponents in this race are willing to challenge incumbents like that because at the end of the day, this is about advancing conservative values. And it doesn't matter who you make mad. It doesn't matter whose toes you step on. And I was on the board of Texas Public Policy Foundation. I was on the board of Empower Texans actually before I even ran for office. I've been part of the conservative movement for years and devoted years to this movement to make sure that we have more conservatives in office and we deliver these victories. And look, I'll point out one of my opponents actually works for the swamp, works for the deep state. You know, after he failed in his state rep race and couldn't make the runoff, then tried to run for Senate. He's trying third time the charm, Aaron Wrights. Let's not give him a fourth time, by the way. His best judgment in quitting
You
after less than 70 days with President Trump. Okay, 70 days. What does he do? He chooses to take a job at a taxpayer funded lobbyist firm in Austin. That is the deep state. And not only that, it gives to the runaway Democrats, right? So this taxpayer funded lobby firm donates politically to like James Tallarico, who's now running for U.S. Senate, or John Busey, or Trey Martinez Fisher. This is the kind of judgment that we just can't afford in Texas because look, there are only seven Republican Party of Texas priorities. Seven. It's not hard to figure out. This is one of them. You can't go work for taxpayer funded lobbyists and say you're conservative. It's like the same as saying I'm pro-life and working for Planned Parenthood, right?
so
That
you
doesn't line up.
you just indirectly answered the question that I just asked you. He has not been afraid to go after you, and you are clearly not afraid to go after him. So the criticism that you're not willing to fight, I think, doesn't necessarily stand up to scrutiny based on what you just said, Senator. And I appreciate your candor. Do
Well,
you
look,
believe?
I would
Go
add
ahead.
one thing here too.
Yeah.
Chip Roy is in this race as well. And look, he has called on the impeachment of our president. He
Oh,
gave
I'm
a
not a Chip Roy
speech
fan whatsoever.
He gave a speech on the U.S. House floor, siding with Mike Pence, saying that President Trump had committed impeachable
Yep.
offenses, and he fought to keep Liz Cheney in charge of the House conference. And then not only that, he tried to remove Joe Biden to put Kamala Harris as the incumbent under the 25th Amendment. I mean, again, look, judgment. This race comes down to judgment. And we can't afford the judgment of Aaron Wrights. We can't afford the judgment of Chip Roy. And I'd point out this as well. Look at where their money's coming from, right? So Aaron Wrights took a six-figure check from Dr. Ahmed, a fugitive in Dubai that stole hundreds of millions of dollars from taxpayers. And in this job as Attorney General, you're supposed to be going after waste, fraud, and abuse, not seeking political donations from fugitives of justice overseas in Dubai. And you're supposed to recover that money for the taxpayer. You're not supposed to seek to profit off of it with your campaign.
Do you believe the Ken Paxton impeachment was a mistake?
I voted to quit on every last charge, every single one. And then not only that, when Ken Paxton was in a runoff in 2022, I supported him in his campaign, did mailers for him against George P. Bush. And look, at the end of the day, that was the right outcome in
Yes, it
the
was.
acquittal on every last one. And I voted to acquit on every last one of those charges, 100%.
Finally, Senator, where can people go if they want to donate money, get involved with the campaign, learn more about you?
Go to Mayes Middleton, www.mayeSmiddleton.com. Come and check me out also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as well. And look, this is why this is so important. I've got four little ones. Macy and I are blessed with four little ones, and they're my daily reminder of what we're fighting for. And we
Amen.
have to make sure that Texas is the safest state in America to live and raise a family. And look, as we've seen with Charlie Kirk, we are in a spiritual battle.
Yes, sir.
Is it? We cannot give 1 inch to the left, and we must defeat them because we don't have another Texas to move to. This is it. This is the last stand.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Senator, may God bless you and may God continue to bless the great state of Texas. Thank you for coming on tonight, and thank you for helping us keep Texas talking.
Hey, God bless you, Shiloh. Appreciate you for having me on tonight. Thank you.
Yes,
Stay
sir.
dialed in to interviews and content just like this by clicking that follow button on my Facebook page, or hit the subscribe button to learn more about exclusive access that you won't want to miss.